Okay, here's a review of a test you're going to take on Thursday of this week, and it's ratios and proportions. Solving for the variable, you just line up your equals and circle the one with the x first. So you're going to take x times 2, you write that as 2x. Then over here you take 3 times negative 3, that would be negative 9. Okay, so what's happening to x? Okay, I got to solve for the x. X has a 2 in front of it with no sign. That means it's multiplied, so I just go ahead and divide by 2. So negative 9 divided by 2 is negative 4.5. Okay, now on my next problem, it's a little bit harder. Quite a bit more steps to this one. Now you got x's in both places, just circle one of them. It doesn't matter. You can go this way or this way first. It doesn't matter. Now you have your x, but you have two separate things with the x, okay? You got a 2x and a 1. You get two separate terms. So right here I'm going to write 2x and 1, and I will multiply both of them separately by 4. Okay, so 2x times 4 is 8x, and then 1 times 4 is 4. So over on this side, I write 8x plus 4. Now over here, I would take 5 times x, but I also have a plus 2 with the x, okay? So I will put a 1 here, and I have to multiply these separately, the 1x and the 2, by 5. So that's 5x, and that's 10. So over here I write 5x plus 10. Okay, now you have two x's in the problem. Okay, so before you worry about doing the, you have to simplify the equation so the x appears only once. They're on opposite sides, so I'm going to mark the one that's whatever one. I usually mark out the smaller one, and I have to add or subtract that to get rid of it. So it's positive, I would then minus it, because 5 minus 5 would be 0. Line your equals up. That's 3x plus 4, and then 10. Now, there's two things happening to the x. We got times by 3 and plus 4. So we do the opposite of plus 4 first. So minus 4, minus 4. That gives us 6, and over here you got 3 times x. Okay, now it's time to divide by 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. So that's how that works, okay? And if you want, you can always put a 1 in front of your x, okay? If you want right there. So again, I take 2x and 1. Those are two different numbers. This has an x, this one doesn't. I just write them separately, multiply them each by 4. Here I put 1 in front of the x, so 1x and 2 are my separate terms, and I multiply those each by 5. Okay, percent proportions. What is 25% of 144? So I line up my proportion, and I have 100% on bottom, percent on top, and if you remember one of the assignments you did, it was always is over of. Now, first off, I have a number with a percent, so 25 goes here. And then I go to of, so after the word of, I see 144, so that's 144, and then is going to be the x. Okay, so I take 100 times x, that's 100x, and over on the other side, I just take 25 times 144. 3,600, and then it is now time. The only thing happening to x is it's times 100, so I divide by 100. X equals 3,600 divided by 100 is 36. Now, if the x is over here, don't put a percent label on it. If the x is over here, you will put a percent label on it. Okay, 80% of what number is 20? So I put 100% on bottom, and then is of. So the percent I have is 80. After of, it says the word what, so the of is the x right there, and then 20 is my is. So now I'm figuring out essentially what the total would be. So 80 times x is 80x, and on the other side I take 100 times 20, that's going to be 2,000. Now it's dividing time by the 80. So I take 2,000 divided by 80, that's 25. Okay, what percent of 36 is 96? This is going to be kind of a weird one. You just stick to the plan. I don't have anything that has a percent, okay, because it says what percent, so X here, then is of. So after the word of, I see 36, and then 96 is my is. So when I write my equation, it's going to be 36X. Over on this side, we'll be taking 100 times 96. That's going to be 9,600. Okay, now I divide by 36. So 9,600 divided by 36 gives me 266.6 repeating. Okay, now my X was in the percent ratio, so it's percent. Okay. Okay, similar shapes. Okay, I gotta find what number would go where X is at. They're same shape, different sides, so that they're gonna form, the sides form a proportion. So I'm gonna put X8. Now what side is most like to X on the big triangle? It would be 14. So I gotta make sure 14 is lined up across from X, and the side most similar to 8 would be 10. So X times 10 would be 10X, and then 8 times 14 would be, I'm not sure, 112, I think. Yep. Now, X is multiplied by 10, so we will then divide by 10. So 112 divided by 10 is going to be a decimal. It's 11.2. So that's what X ends up equal to. Just put 11.2 right there. And there we know the side. Convert 4 meters to feet. 1 meter is 3.28 feet. So I line up, again, when I convert units like feet, inches, meters, you can always get by on proportions. So we're going to line this up on the first ratio. 1 meter, 3.28 feet. Now remember, your labels have to be aligned across from each other, straight across. Now I have 4 meters. I'm going 2 feet, so X is our feet. So it's going to be 1X. And over on the other side, you're going to take 3.28 times 4, and that's going to be 13.12. And it's dividing time by 1. 13.12 divided by 1 is 13.12. And just put 13.12 then into the ratio. So if 1 meter is 1 meter, 3.28 feet, 4 meters is 13.12 feet. Okay, number 8. A student can read, it should say read, 7 pages of a book in 10 minutes. How many pages of a book can the student read in 30 minutes? Okay. Now, if a student reads for 0 minutes, he's not going to read any pages, okay? Now, if a student reads for 10 minutes, the first minute's amount I see is 10, and that's with 7 pages. The next minutes I see is 30, and I don't have a pages with that, so that's X. Now, with this 0, 0 here, that's important. That means I go right into my proportions, okay? Now, it's very important you put your time label on the bottom. So I have 2 units underlined, pages and minutes. And you did an assignment like that earlier where you did a good job on it, but you got to make sure the time goes on the bottom. Remember the labels. Okay, so I know that we have 10 minutes, and I know that's with 7 pages. I know I have 30 minutes. And I don't know how many pages. You can put X if you want. Okay, so 10 times X is 10X. 7 times 30 is 210. And now I just divide both sides by 10. So So 210 divided by 10 is 21. So we have 21 pages. We can read 21 pages in 30 minutes. Okay, number 10. Chad and Jack are painting a house. Chad can paint one house in 6 hours. Jack can paint one house in 5 hours. These guys want to paint 2 houses for the day. How many hours will it take? Now, there's 2 tables because there's 2 different people. You got Chad painting, takes him 6 hours. By the way, 0 hours would result in 0 houses painted, and he can do 1 house. This next guy can do 1 house in 5 hours. Now, put the 2 houses in the middle. Go with that, and we have to find out how many hours it's going to take. X hours. Okay, with these zeros, that means I line up proportions. But since there's 2 tables, I need to make 2 of them here with a plus sign. It's a plus sign. A lot of people can't remember if it's plus or times. It's plus because you'd be taking what he can do plus what he can do. So it's a plus operation. Remember to put your time label on bottom on all your ratios. Hours, 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 houses, houses, and houses. So I got this first guy. You can do 1 house in 6 hours, 1 house in 5 hours, and they have 2 houses to do together, but X hours. I don't know that. So I line my equals up, and here I still have 2 over X. Now I want to add these 2 right here. Okay, I want to plus those on a calculator. 1/6 plus 1/5. You're best off just adding the fractions, and that's 11 over 30. That means when they work together, hours is always on bottom, okay? Together they can paint 11 houses in 30 hours, but they don't have to paint 11. They only have to paint 2, okay? So then I use a cross products. 11 times X is 11X, and 2 times 30 is 60. That's dividing by 11. And 60 divided by 11 is 5.4. Just put 5.5. I don't count off for rounding. Okay, 11. If I spend 20% of my paycheck on groceries, I make $3,000 in a month. How much of that will I spend on groceries? So again, I go to the percent proportion, and I just line up 20%, and it's percent's always a ratio per 100%. Now, put labels on these rather than just percent. So the top, I've circled how to label the top on groceries. The top on groceries. And then 100% is the total. So let's talk about the $3,000. Did you spend $3,000 on groceries? No, it doesn't. So you got to put X for groceries and $3,000 for the total. Okay, and now everything's set up correctly. So 100 times X is 100X. Then I take 20 times 3,000, 60,000. Okay, and now I divide by 100. 60,000 divided by 100 is 600. So he's got to spend $600 on groceries. Okay, this one's kind of a dumb one. Dumb sounding problem. 1/5 of the clowns in the circus had red noses. If 40 clowns had red noses, how many clowns are there altogether? Now you're talking fractions. So I don't put 100, I put 1/5. This right there is my first ratio. Now just like here, you're going to label the ratio, what it means. So the top is a part that had red noses, and this is total. Okay, and then here over here is the same way. Had red noses, total. Now, did 40 clowns, does that have to do with red noses? Yeah, it says so. 40, they had red noses. So 40 now goes here, and then X goes here, because I find how many clowns are there altogether. Altogether means the total. So I'm supposed to be questions asking me to find the total. 1 times x is 1x. 5 times 40 is 200, and we'll just divide by the 1, which is still 200. Be clowns. Whatever 40's label is, the other one will have the same label. 200 clowns altogether. Okay, town's population has increased by 5%. At that point, the population is 12,500 people. How many people were in town before the percent increase? So again, you line up, now you're at a percent problem, not a fraction. Now you don't want to just put 5 because I have underlined increase with the 5. That means you take 100 plus 5, and that's 105. And when I add or subtract that percent, then it's always after on top, before on bottom. This is before we added the percent, this is after. Now it says how many people were in town before the percent increase. So I've circled before because that means we don't know that. So that's X, okay? So X goes here, and don't mix it up. It's always after before, it doesn't change. And then 12,500 is before. So it's going to be 105x over here. Over on the other side, we take 100 times 12,500. Whoa, big number. 125 and then 4 zeros. And then we divide by 105. Just put the stuff before the decimal. Because you see 12,500 is people. I can't have decimals for people. It'd be 11,904. And this is people, so this is going to be people. 11,904. Okay, then the last one. 2 cars travel for the same amount of time. One car averages 75 miles per hour, while the other car averages 60 miles per hour. The faster car travels 140 miles further. How many miles did each car travel? Now, when I have given you this formula right here, time equals distance divided by speed, okay? And fill that out, put distance and speed. Otherwise, they don't really mean anything. You're going to make that table that you just worked on. So you got fast, slow, speed, distance, and time. The speeds are the miles with the per hour. So we got 70 miles per hour. That would be the fast car. Again, speed is always mph, miles per hour. 60 says miles per hour, that's the slow car. So we eliminate those two things from the problem because we already know what they represent. Now the distance is just the miles, okay? Now I see miles, but it says further, okay? That means nobody traveled 140. That means when they get to the end and stop, one car is 140 miles ahead of the slow car. But I still don't know exactly where that's out. So I put X and X, but I get to add 140 to the fast car. And now the time we know they're equal because they stop at the same time, but I take the distance divided by the speed. But I don't have the distance. It says X plus 140, and the speed I have 70. Distance is X, speed is 60. And now I line those up into a proportion. So X plus 140 over 70 equals X over 60. Okay, so you can go with either one first. It doesn't matter. I'll go here. Okay. I would take 60x, but there's a plus 140. Okay. So what I need to do is write out 1x, and I need to write 140. And both of those get multiplied by 60. So that's 60 with x. And 140 times 60 is 8,400. So over on this side, I write 60x plus 8,400. Meanwhile, over on this side, okay, you can put a 1 in. That's just going to be 70 times 1x. That'd be 70 with x connected. So that's just a 70x. Now, it's very important in this problem. You got x's on opposite sides. mark the smaller one with an arrow, and just get rid of it off that side. So it's positive, I'm going to be minusing it. I'll minus it here. Line up the equals, 8,400, and over here you got 10x. Now x is just multiplied by 10, so we'll divide by 10. 8,400 divided by 10 is 840. So that's your first answer. Now go up here with your x's and just replace them with 840. So I already know I have 840 for an answer, and then 840 plus 140 is 980.